Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is now literally just 1 month away from its official release by Disney, Lucasfilm, J.J. Abrams, and even creator George Lucas. That is all set and ready to end the Skywalker saga and the sequel trilogy itself. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one of the big things that J.J. Abrams wants to do with Episode 9 is, of course, by providing many different revelations, twists and turns, secrets of the Force, the Jedi, the Sith, overall, that's going to have massive saga-wide implications to the entire Skywalker saga. And whether or not that's going to be a good or a bad thing, it really does all determine, on how it's going to be executed on the big screen, the context of those specific sequences, and exactly how it's going to resonate with fans around the world as well. Now, JJ does have a plan in place in order to make this by far the darkest Star Wars film out of the entire Skywalker saga. And with that being said, of course, what's really intriguing has all to do with Palpatine, Rey, Kylo Ren, and other characters involved in Episode 9 within the third act of this movie. Now, specifically, what's really intriguing about all of this, has all to do with shot descriptions consisting of a sequence where it's explained that Palpatine is said to be inside of his throne room, where he is described to have Rey prisoner, while Kylo Ren is fighting the Knights of Ren outside of Palpatine's base. It's explained that as this happens, Sidious begins to unveil revelations related to her lineage and her identity that this is described to upset Rey deeply in the segment. Eventually, this leads to a scene in which Palpatine, while attached to his crane machine, begins to move closer to Rey slowly, while actually laughing, puts her into a force-freeze state and places his hand on top of her head. This is where Sidious is actually described to allow Rey to see a potential future version of herself in the form of a vision and a part of the new Sith Empire by Palpatine's side, where Rey is said to be in a dark clothing with a double-bladed red lightsaber, leading an entire army of red Sith troopers, with Star Destroyers behind her firing down on an exotic world. Now, it's explained that this vision of Rey is actually said to tempt Rey toward the dark side of the Force, until she begins to hear Ben Solo's voice in her head, trying to pull her away from the darkness and to not make the same mistakes that he did. This is where Ben and Rey begin to connect in their Force bond, where Rey is able to toss Ben Solo Leia's lightsaber through space and time, where he kills the Knights of Ren and makes his way down to Palpatine's throne room, where Rey breaks free from Palpatine's manipulation. It's explained that in this scene, Palpatine begins to reveal to both Rey and Ren that he actually used Snoke and the First Order as a distraction to develop his new Sith Empire, and that for the longest time Snoke had failed to discover Palpatine's location on Exegol, and that they, however, would mentally connect from time to time during Palpatine's isolation on Exegol. It's explained that Sidious unveils that he was even able to tap into Snoke's mind to force him to make certain decisions for the First Order that would be in favor and benefit Palpatine and his new Sith Empire. During this big reveal of the connection between Snoke and Palpatine is when Kylo Ren and Rey begin to ignite their sabers, where Sidious begins to give them a lecture about the power of the Beyond and how it is stronger than that of the dark side of the Force, allowing him to do godly things that no Sith would have ever imagined to do. It's said that this is where the rejuvenation process takes place, where as Palpatine drains the energy from both Rey and Ren, there is a shot of Palpatine's face getting younger and is said to parallel Palpatine's face getting deformed in Episode 3 by Mace Windu, except now he is getting younger and is beginning to appear more like how he did in Episode 3. While this happens, it's explained that dark side whispers can be heard that are very loud around Palpatine as this occurs, and it's actually implied that those are the Sith spirits connected to the Beyond that help Palpatine rejuvenate himself to a far younger state in order to face and battle both Rey and Ren while they are actually in his new throne room. So let's go over a couple of parts about this. Now, the thing about Episode 9 here is that we do know that this movie is going to answer a lot of questions from The Force Awakens, as well as adding on to the existing Star Wars lore. So JJ really wants to make this film by far the darkest Star Wars film there is out of the entire Skywalker saga, and I can see exactly why he wants to do this, is because if you look at Revenge of the Sith, that was the final film of the prequels, very dark Star Wars movie, and if you look at the final film of the sequel trilogy, that's exactly what J.J. Abrams also wants to do here, since Palpatine really is going to be the center of the story. He's going to be the main focus of Episode 9. So the first thing that I actually want to go over here that I think a lot of fans are going to go wild over when they see this in the theaters is the vision of Rey leading an entire army of red Sith troopers that are indeed a part of Palpatine's new Sith Empire. So this vision that Rey actually sees is said to be initiated by Palpatine, showing her exactly who she could become and how she's going to be a part of his new Sith Empire and a part of his new Rule of Three plan that he wants both Rey and Kylo Ren to rule by his side. Now, if that were to actually fail, Palpatine does indeed have a failsafe to just rule the galaxy on his own, hence why he rejuvenates himself through the use of the Force Conduit technique. And let's talk about this technique for a little bit here. Now, this Force Conduit technique is actually said to be somewhat connected to the Sith spirits that are connected to the Beyond, which could explain the reason as to why Kylo Ren, who was Snoke's master, never returned from the Beyond when he traveled there, which is, by the way, the very center of the Unknown Regions and serves as the origins of the dark side. Raw energy, if you will, raw power that exceeds the dark and the light combined. Now, Supreme Leader Snoke and Palpatine would often mentally connect with each other, and at times Palpatine would even be able to control Snoke, as revealed by Palpatine to Rey during their confrontation inside of his throne room. So you can see all the revelations that JJ is trying to do. He's really trying to change how we view the character of Snoke and Palpatine and everything that actually happened in between episodes 6 and 7. Now, it is noted that there actually was no time in which Snoke discovered Palpatine's location. So Snoke actually failed to discover Palpatine's location on Exegol because it's near all of these different stars, and the radiation from those stars actually hide Palpatine's location due to actually suppressing his own energy to actually pinpoint his exact location, right? So what I like about this too is that it's diving deep into Star Wars lore, whether you're into the Force, the Jedi, the Sith, or anything related to Palpatine or Snoke. That's exactly what Palpatine is going to be a part of in this story, is of course actually unveiling all these different twists and turns and these revelations that will have saga-wide implications in the Skywalker saga. Whether or not this is a good or a bad direction for Disney and Lucasfilm really does all depend on how Disney and Lucasfilm are going to execute everything on the big screen, of course. So, with that being said, the fact that Kylo Ren is going to kill the Knights of Ren, I'm not quite sure how a lot of fans are going to actually view this. I, however, think that this is better. It could have been that Rey was going to be the one who killed the Knights of Ren, but I think that this is the perfect choice for Kylo Ren to kill the Knights. We do know that there's going to be some kind of redemption arc for Kylo/Ben Solo, and what better way to do this in order to kind of give us a little symbolic piece of him breaking his chains and destroying the Knights of Ren. Any kind of connections he had to the dark side of the Force, he is now destroying, and Palpatine actually had a large role to do with, Kylo Ren's turn to the darkness. After all, as we went over a couple of days ago, that it was actually Palpatine who was watching over Ben Solo as a baby, and that Leia actually mistaken that as Snoke, but it was really Palpatine from afar, constantly pulling the strings of really kind of creating these dark side tendencies within Kylo Ren because of his tendencies with the dark side of the Force and his connection to the Darth Vader bloodline. And that's what I like about this film. It's really kind of just connecting all things together so far. Am I still concerned about, other decisions by Disney and Lucasfilm that we have gone over? Absolutely. I will say that there have been terrible decisions by Disney and Lucasfilm so far, such as the massive reshoot that took place, that literally changed the entire second act and the third act of the film and brought it in a different direction. That I will say that was a bad decision by Disney and Lucasfilm, and that maybe bringing Palpatine back into physical form wasn't the best idea, because I think a lot of fans are going to interpret that in different ways, such as Anakin Skywalker's sacrifice now meaning nothing, which I can understand, and Palpatine's death basically not really meaning much at the very end of Return of the Jedi, etc., etc. So I would really like to hear what you guys have to say about this scenario between this vision, Snoke, Rey, Kylo, and the Knights of Ren, and everything that unfolds in of course, Palpatine's throne room. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.